I just wanted to share with you guys some of the things that have been going on since I came up here. And I was really surprised about really the attacks that have been going on since I came back here to Pennsylvania. How many people are stranded and how many people they're targeted for certain things. And I'm not surprised about the censorship or YouTube channels, especially on very controversial topics. So there are things that I look at and I think to myself, like, why is this so controversial? Or what is it about this story that makes it so controversial? And this story, of course, has been a topic in this area. It's the Cherrie Mahan story, and anybody that's been on YouTube or studied on crimes like this is a very compelling story. A lot of families who've been crime victims still ask the same questions, like what happened. And I went and talked to a few neighbors about some of the crime issues in this area. I would say, like, more like heroin is the big problem. So having talked to those neighbors at random, I used to live here 30 years ago. I came back from the Army and I lived about a mile away. So when I tell you guys there's a lot of interesting stories here in this area, obviously it uncovers a lot of deeper, probably things that maybe we're not more familiar with on topics. This area, particularly in this area, like when I say this area, I say this whole region, this is more of a steel town. If you're not familiar with the Pittsburgh region, this is about 45 minutes north. And one of the things that which provokes obviously a conversation is the story about Cherrie Mahan. And we've talked about topics like this, but what really concerned me about this story is how come we haven't really got any real strong leads. And my strong premonition is that if those individuals are out here, there'll be things that you can see and pick off. Because it was over 30 years ago, to me, there are things now that you can do. There's apps now, there's things that they didn't have in 1985 when we had an incident with a pedo in our family. What happened to me is I walked in on it, and because our story is interestingly enough, connects a lot of the dots to other cases, and that has been the case. And I don't like to get into the details because I think it's a little too premature. But I always felt strongly about this personally, about this case, that there may be more to this story regarding the school districts or something going on during school hours. And the reason I say that is because over the last 30 years, you've heard a more increase of stories of children who were sexually assaulted by teachers or things like that. So oftentimes, I know they roll these things out, but now we are further along and advanced on these topics. To me, it doesn't hurt to ask some questions, like some basic things like what happened to that case, or why is it closed? Why did it close in 2006? Why did they shelve HB 951? Maybe there's more to that story. I don't know. I don't like to dig around, but I know there's good investigators on YouTube and on 4chan that can maybe help us maybe solve some cold case crimes. I contacted the Hunt because obviously there have been rape and sex crimes here. Personally, the issue on the man with the dress, that has been one of the issues in this area. I know up there in Dollar Tree, if you go to Beaver Falls, if you're familiar, I know there's a lot of stories about crime victims that oftentimes don't get their case heard. So if you have any questions or concerns, contact the local FBI, contact the local police. If you have leads, there's a Crime Stoppers website as well. For a lot of people out here, especially being by ourselves, there are some obvious concerns because obviously we're by ourselves. But I would say this neighborhood is relatively safe. I particularly don't feel any danger here. I know by ourselves though, because some of us have been crime victims, that's obvious. So there are things we're trying to do with the local police about having a support group for crime victims, because there are crime victims and they need to be heard. So hopefully with this story and maybe some more evidence or information out there, we might be able to connect the dots to other cases. Until then, thank you for listening to my post here at the Field Report. We also have been just recently approved to have our field report at the VA. I'm a little delayed because I've had a lot of things going on at home, but I hope and look forward to anyone who's been following my posts to support us. We'll have some links. We also have a very neat thing going on up here on Main Street, a spaghetti dinner. If you'd like to join us, please do so. It's on North Main Street, 117 North Main Street, and we're going to have a spaghetti dinner, and I'm looking forward to, decorating and doing some things with my family for a change. It's nice to get out and do some things as well. Here's some coffee. Enjoy the, somewhat nice weather. It's 45 degrees here in Pittsburgh, and I look forward to following up on more stories. This is one of the bigger stories, though, here in Butler County. Thank you guys for listening to my post.